I'm a cat. I'm a sexy cat.
I can lead you astray, straight to hell if you like. Give me a big black box and I can open your eyes. Are we keeping it real? Are we keeping it tight? Are we all just victims of our infinite life?
Okay, welcome back to EnterTheRealWorld.com. This is There Will Be Movies, Volume 1, the 2000s. This is a podcast where myself, Matt Waters, and my co-host Ben Phillips. Ben, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Soldiering through illness and broken teeth and
Broken teeth and heat.
it is very warm, and the world is descending into hell because on the day we record this, the internet is exploding about there being black mermaids. This is a podcast.
There's not enough melanin under the water.
No, the science of mermaids.
The sun doesn't reach them to tan their skin enough to be black.
This
On the other hand, completely fine with Melissa McCarthy, who is a perfect casting for Ursula, despite the fact they're all being based on drag queens. But no, this is...
It should be Titus. Anyway, this is There Will Be Movies. We took 25 of our favourite movies to come out from the years 2000 to 2009. How did we get to that list? Go listen to episode 0. There's too many rules to run down every time. But this is episode 7, and it's Adaptation. And I think this is the first selection that got on the list purely from you.
Second, because Memento was our first.
Oh, Memento was you.
We started with a Ben pick, and now the second Ben pick is equally confusing in its structure.
Yeah, and we had a lot of Matt in a row. We're going to hit a big stretch of Ben here. Not that I am against this. Confession time, had not seen it, but based on like what I like and what I knew of it and everything, I was pretty sure when we made the list I was going to like it, so I was fine with it. And I watched it, and now I'm very okay with it being on.
It's such a profoundly weird movie.
Isn't it just? Directed by Spike Jonze, who pretty busy making short films and TV shows and being a producer and music videos, because the only other movie of note of his this decade was Where the Wild Things Are, which, good, but not adaptation. I can report back after having seen Adaptation.
He does Being John Malkovich like 3 years before this.
Oh, yeah. When we eventually get to Volume 3 and do the 90s, look out.
But then after this, he kind of doesn't do much. Like, the only other, like, consistent thing that he's involved in is Jackass.
Yeah, like, consistently blows my mind every time I forget that bit of trivia that he, like, created and produced and was, like, heavily involved with Jackass. Like,
so, important question. What was his best movie of 2002? Is it Jackass the movie, or is it Adaptation?
It's Adaptation, Benjamin. Written by Charlie Kaufman.
Our first of 2 Charlie Kaufman movies.
Yes.
Of this miniseries. We will tell you whether or not it's Eternal Sunshine or Synoptically.
Based on the book The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean, but it's not really. But it is. But that's written as, like, based on, so, we'll get into it. Released in February 2003 in the UK, but it snuck in there right at the end of 2002 in the US, December. You already talked about 2002 with Catch Me If You Can last week, so no need to contextualise the year, but if you just want to take us through some of that opening weekend.
Yeah, so in the UK it opened to a stunning 14th place at the box office.
Whoa!
Earning just over $250,000 equivalent in the UK.
But it's so commercially friendly.
Literally 94 screens. Fun fact, number 2 movie that week was Jackass the movie.
Right, well, there you go.
Number 1 was The Ring, and Catch Me If You Can's hanging on at number 4, around there.
Wow. So, 114 confusing-ass minutes. Well, not really confusing, just weird-ass minutes.
Yeah, I don't think there's nothing in this movie that, like, isn't well enough explained.
Yeah,
it's just, like...
Confusing was a very poor choice of words. It's like, huh? Tiny budget of $19 million, but it made 32.8, which is surprisingly high, given the subject matter. I was being all like, ha, when we were talking about Charlie Kaufman and Susan Orlean. It's a semi-true story, because Charlie Kaufman was tapped to write an adaptation of The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean, and he struggled because there is no drama whatsoever in that book, really. So instead, he just...
I did propose that I would read all the books that the movies were based on, and then I remembered that this movie's an adapted screenplay and not an original screenplay, and I was sat there going like, am I going to read The Orchid Thief?
I don't know why you didn't.
to fully appreciate.
Well, I will pause the podcast right now while you go read it. So yeah, he descended into despair and writer's block, and instead decided to write about him failing to adapt The Orchid Thief. And he handed in this completed script without telling the producers that this is the direction he had chosen to go in. And he famously stated that he believed he was ending his career the moment he handed that script in, despite Spike Jonze being all all about it when he told him about it while they were making Being John Malkovich.
And didn't like the script get like fast tracked the moment after he handed it in? It
Yeah,
was like he handed
it did
the script
really
in,
well.
and they were just like, "This is amazing.
Yeah.
Let's make this movie." Who do you think was more shocked when they saw this? Do you reckon it was the producers, or do you reckon it was Susan Orlean, who's being told?
Well, she famously had to be heavily talked into it because she was like, "What are you talking about? This is nonsense. I hate it. Don't do it." And then she's like, "Yeah, I really like it. It's my favorite Meryl Streep performance." Like, "Oh, you narcissist, playing you? That's your favorite Meryl? Come on." Yeah, I think
Meryl is really good though.
Oh, come on. So the fictional Donald Kaufman was nominated alongside Charlie Kaufman for both a Golden Globe and an Oscar, and the Academy actually informed Charlie Kaufman that if they won, they would have to share one statue. Donald Kaufman doesn't exist.
You didn't realise this when you watched the movie.
I didn't know that, and I was just texting you my thoughts, and I was like, what a weird way to tell your brother you think he's a fucking doofus. And then you're like, there is no Donald Kaufman. I was like, crazy, crazy stuff. I was, because I like to get all the directed by, written by, all written down and everything, and I was like, just Charlie Kaufman. And then I start watching the movie, and it says, written by Charlie and Donald Kaufman. I was like, oh, that's weird, I didn't say that. And then, sure enough, he doesn't exist. And he just made up a brother to make the film more fun.
Kind of wish I'd saved it to the end. Because even though it's not really a spoiler that he doesn't exist, I still think it would have been funny for me to tell you that someone who dies in the course of this movie didn't exist.
Yeah. If we could have canned the moment that I've discovered this was not real and recorded it for you and everything, it would have been great. But unfortunately, I already know. Sorry. They wanted Tom Hanks to play Charlie Kaufman. They ended up on Nicolas Cage, who said he had to ignore every single one of his acting instincts. And look what happened. One of his best performances. Also, I believe Nicky Cage is 2-0 when playing a screenwriter in terms of Oscar nominations. So get him to play one. He's going to get an Oscar nod, apparently.
Nicolas Cage is one of those guys who, if you pair him with a good director, then he's probably going to put in a good performance. Because you look at his, the best movies that he's done are all with, really good directors. It's like Matthew Vaughn and Kick-Ass, and this movie with Spike Jonze, and...
Go on, keep going. Go on. Oh, he's dying.
I'm dying.
As was Nicolas Cage in
Raising Arizona with the Coen brothers. He's obviously really good in. Mandy, he's fantastic in. He does these good movies every so often, and then he does utter weird performances and other things, which I don't think he's ever bad, but I think he's so heightened that it sometimes seems odd with the movie.
I think he's a genius. I mean, he keeps getting hired for some reason, and it's not because of his hair.
I don't know. If I was in 70 films over 30 years and I spent each one talking at random volumes, I might accidentally win an Oscar.
He's like Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is someone who I have heard will show up on set, ask directors really complex questions about directing, and if they can't answer him, he just signs off the performance and just I'm done. This movie is not worth me paying attention.
Excellent.
Which is why the only movies that Bruce Willis is good in nowadays are with competent directors that you know.
Still does the movie, just as a silent protest, is deliberately bad in it.
I've also heard that he charges a ludicrous amount of money per day. So all the movies that he's in nowadays are
Also, isn't he a Republican?
Probably. But he famously will work 5 days on a movie and then just bugger off after being paid his exorbitant fee.
Excellent. Do you know who did not get paid an exorbitant fee? Meryl Streep for this movie. She took a pay cut because she adored the script and it's got a small budget and she's an adult. Joaquin Phoenix was deep into negotiations to play John LaRoche, but dropped out late, feeling he was wrong for it. In steps Chris Cooper with the role of his career. What a weird fucking movie. The beginning alone is very strange, with opening with just black screen and credits and Nicolas Cage as Charlie Kaufman in a movie written by Charlie Kaufman, just dressing himself down completely, saying you're a fat piece of shit and this, that and the other, and it was this is certainly a choice. And then going straight into I have to assume they've restaged some behind the scenes stuff of Being John Malkovich rather than
a portion of this budget was devoted to remaking sets from Being John Malkovich, getting John Malkovich in. Maybe the John Malkovich one is the only one that isn't a recreation for the movie because it's kind of shot a little bit differently. It looks like it's behind the scenes footage almost, but I don't know, it's hard to say.
And they're name crediting apologies, but behind the scenes people, assistant directors and whoever, and then it's and here's Nicolas Cage. It's wearing a fat suit and a bald wig and just sweating profusely throughout and just It's a very weird way to... I mean, being John Malkovich is obviously a very fucking weird movie, and then, like, oh, here's this movie that probably, you know, not a lot of people saw Adaptation, and, like, how many of them also saw Being John Malkovich? Like, a weird beat to play. And then, like, going into a little history of the world montage, which will much later get a callback. It's just a very strange way to open your movie, in my opinion.
I'm going to ask you a question now, because
Sure.
I feel like this is a good... When did it click for you that this movie was the story of making this movie?
I feel I knew that already. I don't know.
As in, like, you knew it from... it's one of those things where, like, I think I remember watching it and kind of having the realisation when he gets to the point where I'm going to put myself into the movie, that then you realise, oh no, this is the story of him, like...
I mean, yeah, you definitely hit the point where he's literally writing the movie we're watching. I didn't see that coming, but I knew it was, like, semi-autobiographical and, like, meta and stuff like that. But, yeah, there's definitely a point where he starts yammering into the dictaphone. It's like, oh, he's literally describing the scene that from the beginning of the movie, and it's a wild ride. We're going to kind of cover this like we did Memento, in that rather than Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, I think we're going to cover all of the Charlie Kaufman side, and then we're going to cover all of the Susan Orlean side, and then when they meet. So, Charlie Kaufman struggling to write this movie, and he takes a lunch with Tilda Swinton, who just magical creature who will pop up anywhere and be great for 2 minutes if needed.
This is one of those movies where, like, everyone in it is, like, relative levels of famous.
A star-studded cast. This conversation, like, it takes on so much, like, extra weight when you think back on it, when you're watching later points of the movie, because it's kind of nothing. It's just him, like, saying, you know, I don't want this to be Hollywooded up, and I don't want it to be, like, a heist or characters learning things, you know. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. But then when you get to the points later in the movie where, like, she made the suggestion, we'd like it if they fell in love, and then you see them gradually falling in love, and it's like, oh, okay. And it undoubtedly becomes Hollywooded up towards the end and stuff. It's just...
But in such a profoundly weird way. Like, it's a Hollywood movie, but through the lens of Charlie Kaufman, like, doing this kind of stuff. Like, he lists the 3 things that he doesn't want to do in this movie, and they kind of do all of them by the end of the movie, which is, like, one of those wonderful little bits of foreshadowing that this movie manages to do, which is, like, he wants to write the movie that is the opposite of this, and ends up writing...
Exactly that, yeah.
Exactly
he betrays all of his principles throughout this movie. Yeah, but, like, when I watched that scene straight, I was just like, okay. And then thinking about the movie afterwards, I was like, oh god, I kind of want to rewatch the beginning now through the lens of having seen the whole thing. It's very cool. Surprise, surprise, he's playing fucking twins. As we mentioned up front, this fictional Donny Kaufman. And Nicolas Cage just... Kaufman walks through the fucking door, and there's another Nicolas Cage just sitting on the floor. It's like, oh, this is a thing that's happening. And wonderfully, one of them's a fucking idiot. It's a limitless well of comedic gold of just Donald Kaufman being an earnest idiot and Charlie just being a depressed guy telling him, no, you're just wrong. And just being like, oh, I thought I'd be a screenwriter, just like you. It's like, ugh.
Well, the thing that I like about him is that even though Charlie's obviously got a lot of disdain for his brother, Donald has his shit in order and is, like, good at what he does.
Yeah.
Charlie has no respect for a lot of what he does, but the movie isn't going, like... I don't even think it's saying, like, he's failing upwards. I think it's saying, like, he's good at the thing that he's supposed to be good at. It's just...
Yeah, it says he's, like, a genius with structure and stuff, and it's like, well, he can't fake that. Like,
it's not the kind of stuff that his brother's doing, is I think the important thing.
Well,
which
you
is
say
like,
he's got his shit together, he's like crashing at Charlie's house and stuff, but yeah, otherwise...
He's crashing at Charlie's house, and also he can't, like, sit on sofas and stuff like that, so he's constantly on the floor lying because his back's, like, fucked up.
But then he ends up picking up Maggie Gyllenhaal, and, like, we're not even going to talk about her because she barely has any fucking scenes. It's just, oh, look, how many people are in this movie? So Cage was credited separately for these 2 roles, because it's in order of appearance. So, like, right at the top, Charlie Kaufman, several names down, Donald Kaufman. It's great. It's wonderful. Nicolas Cage's real-life brother stood in for whichever sibling Cage wasn't playing at a given moment. You know, the whole Sean Gunn and Guardians type deal. I think that's fun.
I was going to say, like, what do we think the budget in this movie is spent more on? Is it spent on the kind of, like, split camera stuff they would have to do with Nick Cage, or is it basically anything they film in Florida?
I'd say 50% went to that, and 50% went to that, and then they all just had a whip round for Meryl Streep. It's actually pretty good green screen for the time. I know, like, like, green screen's not, like, the most crazy out there thing in the world, but, like, if you go back to, like, the 90s and you watch something like Friends, where Lisa Kudrow is playing twins, it looks awful. And then,
but my opposing there would be Parent Trap looks really good. And
true, I guess movies have more
about
money.
4 years before this. Then they do have Disney money on
That's
Parent
fair.
Trap.
That's fair. And I also like that, you know, much later on, Charlie will tell him that split personalities are overdone. And, like, I know it's not quite the same, although I think there is a sect of fans who speculate that Donald doesn't exist, and, like, maybe even Susan, or the version of Susan he meets, isn't real, and, like, he never met her or whatever, you know, all that. But I don't know, it just, when he said that, it struck me as like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. There's this ongoing sort of very tiny subplot with this woman Amelia, who he, like, spends some time with, and he goes on a date with her, and she is giving him the, like, you can kiss me signals, and he just fucks it. And it's strange. It's not that I want it gone, it's just, it's a weird, when you consider what happens throughout the rest of the movie, it's kind of like, huh? But I guess it makes his life feel a bit more mundane, I guess, and
it's part of that. It's to make him feel less attached. Like, it obviously illustrates that he just has no luck with women, and is kind of. I appreciate that the movie kind of goes out of its way to say, like, Charlie Kaufman doesn't treat women particularly well.
No, he doesn't. You're asked to like Charlie and not like Donald, but it's like, Donald's probably nicer. So
yeah, like, because the thing is, like, I mean, because Charlie's got 3 scenes in the movie where he starts jerking off to a woman.
A lot of wanking in this movie.
A lot of wanking.
A lot of sweaty, overweight wanking.
I enjoy the payoff at the end, because, like, with Amelia, it does kind of come into that kind of, like, Hollywood romantic ending that kind of comes out of nowhere, which I feel is another meta-commentary on these kind of things. But I think it does help reinforce in the early moments, like, this is a man adrift and is prioritizing work over outside relationships to the detriment of actually maybe being able to write humans.
Yeah, and he's also maybe, like, fake nice, or, like...
She's also, like, the only person, like, in the first, like, 10 actors on the call sheet who are, like, is not a name nowadays.
Yeah, I know. I was like, who are you? Why are you not famous? She's in The Nick, right?
Yeah, The Nick's good.
Yeah, there you go. Speaking of his masturbatory fantasies, Judy Greer, a.k.a. Kitty from Arrested Development, a.k.a. Scott's ex-wife and Ant-Man, serves him at a diner, and then he masturbates about taking her to an orchid show for research, and she's topless for reasons that I'm not entirely okay with, but hey.
Because it's literally as a wank fantasy. Like,
it makes sense.
I think it is. It makes sense. I think, like, yes, they could have not had it be topless, but I do think it adds to that fact that, like, it's at that moment where you realise, oh, it's a dream, because there's no way that any person...
well, yeah. And I love that he's interrupted by Donny walking in with his terrible, terrible film pitch called The Three. Apparently there are 2 movies that are vaguely similar to this. And while I was watching it, I was like, Ben, is this going to be a real movie that came out that, like, Charlie Kaufman thinks is bad, and he's just going to attribute it to this person? But no, not a real one, but there are 2 that are similar to it.
What are the 2? One of them is obviously Identity.
One of them's called The Three, but, like, one of the E's is a 3.
God.
I think one is, like, the plot is similar, and one is, like, it's got the same ending that he proposes, where it's, like, the cop and the witness and the... It's like, and he's like, how can they be in the same place? Like, how does your movie work?
It's both a commentary on Fight Club.
Sure.
In some subtle way. But obviously Fight Club kind of thinks through its shit beforehand. But it's like, I am surprised that no one kind of comes to them and goes like, well, I guess, like, at the time that the movie's set, like, Fight Club wouldn't exist. Because Fight Club's 99, isn't it?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure, when it's set, yeah. When was the book?
The book was 96.
Okay, maybe he's heard through his agents or whatever, oh, this book is making the rounds as a potential... I don't know. We're not going to get into the...
No, but I just quite enjoyed that, like, it feels like, when I hear that, it feels like a riff on Fight Club in some ways. But then, 4 months after Adaptation comes out in cinemas, Identity comes out, which is literally, like...
Excellent.
Like, all these split personalities living in a motel or whatever it is. And it's also the plot of, like, an Agatha Christie murder mystery.
And it's like, you know, 15 years too early to be riffing on Split. Anyway, and then just to, like, really highlight, this was definitely just a masturbatory fantasy. He tries to ask her out in real life, and it goes terribly. And she doesn't even, like, say no. She just is like, and just walks off and tells, like, her manager or another waitress or something. And it's very, like, this is how this would go in real life. Like,
I'm not going to serve this man anymore. Please, can someone take this table from me?
Yeah, just, like... Don't ask out people who are in the what do they call that industry in America? Hospitality.
Service industry.
Oh, okay, service industry. Don't ask out people who are like being nice while performing their job. Like, don't do that. Shit.
Like we literally have experience of this in that, like, when we worked in retail, there were customers who would
just hitting on us all the time.
Not on us, but on like female members of staff, yes. Like to the point where it was just like, this is.
Oh yeah, I've banned someone from a shop before for being creepy to female members of staff. I swear the waitress that she goes and tells to is Katie Seagal, but it probably isn't.
No, she would have been too big at this point. Post Married with Children.
I always forget she's was actually like a big star. To me, she's always just Leela. After many struggles, he thinks he's cracked it. And he goes to Big Ron Livingston. He confesses he's struggling. He has no idea how to do it because there's no narrative and all this. So Ron Livingston is playing Charlie Kaufman's real-life agent. I don't think it's a flattering portrayal, personally. But apparently, when he wrote Being John Malkovich, he bet him he could sell that script, and he did. So, shout outs, I guess, for getting that sold.
I have to imagine that he's got a good sense of humour, because, like, in this first scene, like, half of his lines are about the ways in which he fucks female people in the office.
Yes. Big Ron! Plus half a star to any film he's in. It's the rules.
He's not quite as good as Sam Rockwell. He doesn't get the full star.
Yeah, half a star.
Half a star.
Ron Livingston adds half a star to everything he's in. And like I said, I really like when he's yammering into the dictaphone about, the history of the world, and we'll see, like, the single-celled ones, and it's like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here.
I'm glad that the movie could do the obvious thing and then flash back to that scene. Instead, it, like, relies on your intelligence to kind of...
I mean, it was only half an hour ago.
No, sure, but it's the kind of thing that, like, a lesser script would flash back to that at this point to remind you that they'd done it.
But also, that stuck with me for a good 15 minutes. I was just like, why did they do that? What weird way to open this movie? And then it's like, oh, so they could do this joke half an hour later. Excellent stuff. So he has another masturbatory fantasy, this time about Susan Orlean.
Based on her inside cover book photo.
Yes, Charlie Kaufman. Bold of you to completely assassinate yourself in front of the world. So, yeah, he decides to write her into the book, and that is how he starts to break the story, essentially. But then he declines to meet her.
No. He goes to pick up takeout, and then just runs into her at the restaurant.
I thought he was... Oh, okay. I wasn't paying attention. So, yeah, he sees Tilda Swinton's character in the restaurant, and she's like, oh, Susan's just in the bathroom. Do you want to meet her? And it's like, he plays it off as like, I don't want to meet someone I'm writing about because it'll inform the performance. But I 100% read it as, I'm embarrassed because I just wanked about her. Like, I know not literally, it's not like he cleaned up, hopefully, and then came straight out. I read it kind of that way, that he was now a little bit embarrassed to meet her knowing that he did that.
Yeah, it probably is part of that, but I also would imagine it's kind of like, I can't tell this person to her face that, like, I can't adapt her book.
I'm struggling, your book is weird. Why did he take the job?
Because he wanted to write something that no one had written before.
I mean, sure.
It's that kind of, like, ego thing, which is why he gets completely ripped to shreds when he goes to the
Well, yeah, I mean, he starts literally writing this film after this, and then he again chickens out on meeting Susan, and what he does then is he goes to this fucking script writing seminar by Robert McKee, who was a real script writing, script doctor, teacher, all that stuff, who Donny came home raving about and being like, I want to be a script writer, this guy thinks I can be great. And Charlie's basically just like, oh, he's a hack, everything he knows is bullshit. And Charlie hits rock bottom after chickening out on going to see Susan. And by the by, them in the lift and him just being like, and not actually saying anything. Perfect. So yeah, he goes to this seminar, and who was playing Robert McKee but Brian Cox, at the suggestion of Robert McKee.
They look identical. I'm looking at Robert McKee's Wikipedia page right now, and it's like, is that Brian Cox? Shall we just run down? So here's a list of people who have been in not Brian Cox, who have been in Robert McKee's real life story seminar.
Sure.
Akiva Goldsman, Peter Jackson, Andrew Stanton,
okay,
and Paul Haggis have all had this thing, and all four of those people have won an Oscar for screenwriting.
They sure have. Fuck with me. And I really like that Charlie is speaking in narration over almost every single word that is being spoken, and just sitting there tearing himself apart for going to it, saying he's a failure. And then the second he stands up to leave is when Brian Cox yells, and God help you if you use voiceover in your work. And the film has used voiceover from the very start, and it's like, you're doing this now as well. Robert McKee claims he is not actually against voiceover. He simply was saying that it should add something and that you shouldn't be narrating what you can already see. But Charlie got in that little jibe at him there of saying he hates voiceover.
I think it is a very common screenwriting thing, which is like
I don't think he's wrong at all.
Yeah, don't open your movie with a voiceover because it is such like a writer's crutch. Mm-hmm. But then there's always exceptions that kind of prove the rule. Like this movie opens with like there is no plot description going on in the opening narration to this movie. Yeah. It's not like we open in the summer of 1977. Like it's not like it's going like here's 5 minutes of info dump information that you need to like set the plot up. It's
just like mundane criticism every day. Nothing important is said in that first 2 minutes. It's great.
Which is one of the things that I find really interesting about this is because obviously I think the movie kind of does. I don't think it comes down on the side of there are rules to making a good screenplay, but I definitely think it's.
I think there are things that you would, in most cases, be wise to do or not do.
I think it kind of comes down in that kind of angle where, like, obviously this movie is more than happy to throw out the rules of, like, screenwriting, but also it's willing to admit that, like, no, these are core tenets of a story that, at a base level, these will make an interesting story for you. And, like, it's not being, like, all snooty and stuff like that and saying, like, doing this is a way to write a bad screenplay. It's like, good screenplays can come from anywhere. You can do this method and come up with a good screenplay, or you can do Charlie Kaufman's method and come up with a good screenplay.
I'm going to use a basketball metaphor here and say it's a bad shot until you make it. It's essentially, like, don't do this unless you're really good at not do it. Charlie Kaufman can make this shit work, but that doesn't mean everyone can. And there's a reason he's advising you don't do it.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of script. It's not like you can... like, it's not like everyone can come out and be like, I'm going to take a book and then not adapt the book.
Yeah, here's how I failed at my job. And then I won about failing about my job. McKee, Brian Cox, also says you cannot have a protagonist without desire, and Charlie has kind of been presented as a sort of... He's not listless, but he's a little bit low energy, a little bit depressed. You can tell he is passionate about wanting to make this a good thing. I feel that's another shot kind of at himself here with this writing. He kind of takes on more desire from this point onwards as well, which I think is quite interesting. But maybe I'm just reading too much into that.
It's because he gets completely torn down. He's like, I want to write a movie that has no plot or no conflict or anything like that. And Robert McKee's just like, why?
You idiot. That's not a film. That's a short film. That's an avant-garde mood piece. Robert McKee would know what Charlie Kaufman looked like, surely, in real life. At this point. Like, if you're teaching screenwriting, you surely know what the guy that wrote John Malkovich...
I mean, but again, like, it would be like this... if he went to go visit him, this would have been before Charlie Kaufman had like success. Like, Being John Malkovich is still not out at this point.
Sure.
Really?
Sure. Yeah, fair enough. And also, like, how many screenwriters would the average person recognise, let alone someone who's in that industry? Like, not many. So, fair enough. But yeah, this little conversation they have in the bar afterwards and, like, getting advice from him and giving him shit about, the real world's boring. It's like, the real world's fucking amazing. People die and live all the time. Get out there and live, you fuckbag.
It's wonderful. It's just this little moment where it's just like, why are you talking about life being boring? Your life is boring.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, real life is really exciting. Look at the news. Like, shit happens.
It does. Just make it sexier. So that's Charlie's side up until these two characters cross over. Meanwhile, playing out simultaneously, so like we just continually cut back and forth between Charlie in the present and Susan between six months ago and like 3 years ago, writing this book, The Orchid Thief. And she at first is also somewhat struggling. Like, we see her plotting out, but like she seems to be struggling more competently. Like, she's like working through it, and like, she talks through this, and we see it as a montage, like the history of orchid thieves and these famous people who have died trying to get orchids, and it's good stuff. And like,
it's very similar to the sequence in Ocean's 11 where they run through like the three most successful bank heists in.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Not bank heists, casino robberies.
Yeah, I love that shit. I'm a sucker for a quick montage with a theme. So we also, before we even meet her, we meet John LaRoche, Chris Cooper, who is trying to extract rare flowers down in a swamp in Florida, and then he bamboozles the cop who's like, hey, you can't remove plants or wildlife from the state of Florida. And then he also does this in court. Like, is he defending himself in court? Like,
I think so.
Yeah, and he's exploiting like weird legal loopholes involving Native Americans, because like he uses Native Americans to help him with his stuff because of America's fucked up.
There's a law that says that they can take plants off of land.
It's their land!
Because they're owed it or whatever. And as long as I don't touch them, they can't arrest me. And
you also get this idea that, like, you see it later, they kind of just sit around getting high and just every now and then do what he tells them, but, like, they don't give a shit. I don't think. But he says this wonderful thing of, like, you know, I'm the smartest person I know, and, like, you know, Susan immediately describes him. I think, does she describe him before we even see him? But she's, like, immediately saying how he has, like, no teeth and this, that, and the other, and it's like, you know, he is clearly a slightly off-putting man, but there is something, like, undeniably charming about him.
Chris Cooper wins the Oscar for this, and it's, like, well-deserved. Like, he's up against some really good people. Like, he's up against Chris Walken for Catch Me If You Can and stuff like that, but this is such a magnetic performance for just this, like, very offbeat man, and he probably should feel out of his depth in comparison to Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep.
Oh, yeah.
Really. But the fact that he's so memorable when you come away from this movie, I think is a testament to just how good Chris Cooper is in this role.
And it's like a face that you have seen dozens of times over the years, but like you watch this and you're like, why weren't you like huge? Why weren't people like tripping over themselves to throw work at you? Big characters, like... Yeah,
because he still does like Oscar movies, or he's got roles in like all these different things. But yeah,
most famously as Norman Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I also enjoyed Jim Beaver's brief cameo as Ranger Tony.
Yeah, just this opening bit, it's like, okay, I get it. And so she starts following him around and writing about him, and at first she's writing an article for The New Yorker. She's not even writing a book. And while she's researching him, it's like, you know, she writes down delusions of grandeur while he's like talking about how important his work is and stuff. And
like weird smell coming from the car.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, she starts off clearly like not completely looking down on him, but you know, she writes for The New Yorker, she's a sophisticated lady, and like he's ostensibly a toothless hick who is like bullshitting his way through life a little bit. But then
I feel like that's quite a common trick that The New Yorker will do though, which is like they will present someone with all their bad points, and then over the course of like a long think piece.
But here's why you shouldn't judge them by that.
No, sure, but I do think it's that thing where, like, in this kind of piece, that you like put forward like the base level things and all the ways that you think it's going to be awful and terrible and not enjoyable for her, and then you flip it by the end and you make it be like, this is a fascinating man who's full of charisma and does know his shit.
I mean, she starts grilling him about like all these passions that he's had and then just dropped one day, and like he's name dropping like the full names of all these different breeds of fish, and like he knows his shit. He's just a really simple man, and simple doesn't have to be a pejorative. Like he just has a way of seeing the world that she initially is like, you're wrong, and then she's like, okay, no, fair enough, you're smarter than you look and stuff like that.
Yeah, like he loves things very intently for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I've fulfilled my life's goal to like enjoy this thing. I will now move on to something else.
It's like you and I right now are into Evangelion, and then next week it's just all going to be My Hero Academia. It's not going to be. Just going to say that now. So LaRoche is talking about... You're right, do you need a minute to recover from my joke?
I'm good, I've recovered.
Okay, so when he's talking about the plants, he mentions adaptation, and I did that like, it's like double net meta, and they're adapting, and this is an adaptation, and great stuff. And then he tells the heartbreaking story of the car crash, or like how he lost his teeth, and like, is it just his mother that dies, or like...
No, he loses...
It's his wife, right?
He loses both his grandparents, or... Is it grandparents or aunt and uncle? Aunt and uncle. He loses both his aunt and uncle in the car crash, and then his wife is in the coma.
Okay. But yeah, it's like, you can like see her entire view of him changing. Like, you can see it on her face. Hey, did you know Meryl Streep is a good actress?
Meryl Streep is a really good actress. The thing I really like about this is, like, with very little backstory, you completely understand why someone who was in a life-threatening car crash after being married to this man would come out of it and go, like, I don't know if I can say married to you anymore. But you can also tell immediately why Meryl Streep would fall in love with this man after he tells her that story. It's this wonderful, like, bit of screenplay writing and acting and just the way the whole thing is shot and, like, put together, that, like, all three of those kind of motivations make sense in the moment where it all comes together. Like, you come away from that scene being like, all of that made sense, even if so much of it is like emotional shorthand.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, she finishes her article for The New Yorker, and then she takes a meeting with Tilda Swinton. She discusses how they want to option it to be a film, and Susan, like, laughs at this idea, which, you know, is great and meta and funny, because 45 minutes ago, we were, like, listening to Charlie Kaufman, like, talk about what he wants the film to be, and all thinking, you're fucking insane, that's not a movie that you're describing. And then we get that happen here, and, like, it's at this point also that the seeds have been sown. I mean, you know, there's kind of, if you know how movies work, you can kind of foresee that Susan will fall for him. But, like, at this point, it's like they're actually fully leaning into it. And, like, you know, we saw Tilda Swinton earlier in the film saying, oh, we'd like these two to get together. And, like, it's kind of happening almost at this point. And then you see her again, and it's all good stuff. Charlie Kaufman's a good writer. Meryl Streep's a good actress. Just things that are true. She goes down with him to the swamp. And, like, is it meant to be the same swamp as the very beginning?
It's the same kind of, like, just the wetlands. I do want to briefly touch on the dinner scene that she has with her husband, where they're all taking the piss out of him. Mm-hmm. She's joining in, so she's written the article at this point, but the book's not come out. I think the end of the book is the walk through the swamp, isn't it? So it's just this moment where they're all taking the piss out of him, and she's laughing along with it because she's trying to, like, stay in touch with these kind of, like, socialite, well-to-do New Yorker friends that she's got.
Yeah, she's a snob, basically.
She's a snob, yeah. But then she goes into the bathroom, and it's like just this look on her face of just like how awful she's treating this person who is doing the kind of dual thing of, like, making her rethink her worldview. That, like, maybe her worldview is this kind of, like, tiny little bubble of being, like, a social, not a socialite, but, like, an educated writer for the New Yorker.
Which is for a fucking New Yorker. That's, like, such a
yeah, exactly. But then also, like, that she isn't fulfilled by her marriage and her relationship. I mean, obviously, this scene is, like, entirely made up by Kaufman. I mean, I assume I've not read the book. I would assume that anything that isn't set in Florida is made up, unless the book really does feature her meditation on whether or not she's still in love with her husband. I should have done my research by reading the book.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you didn't. You're a fool. So, you know, you mentioned how, like, the book ends in the walk in the swamp. She wants to see this elusive ghost orchid that's, like, so rare, and they go down there and they wade through, and he's getting really angry and defensive because they're, like, lost. Well, he doesn't want to admit they're lost, and, like, she's, like, visibly annoyed at him, and he's, like, she doesn't say anything, really, but he just gets increasingly, like, angry about the situation. And then they do eventually find it, and it's the utterance of, it's just a flower. You've been, like, searching for some deeper meaning than I don't know. It's just very poignant. And
but the first time we see that scene,
yes,
like, when he finally gets out, like, they don't find that.
Yeah, it plays out in two parts, and it's like, does the book end with them looking for it and not finding it, but they really did find it, or it's like, are they just deliberately splitting this up into, like, here's an ugly section and then here's the nicer bit that happened after? It's strange, I think. Yeah,
but I do really enjoy Chris Cooper in all these scenes because Meryl Streep's doing so much acting just by being silent, but his, like, petulant, like, I can track the sun using a compass, and he just sticks a stick in the floor.
Tries to build a sundial with a stick on an overcast day. Hot, obviously, but, like, there's not that much.
He, like, moves to talk to her and, like, kicks it over and then realises and then, like, picks it back up. And it's just like, I just need to pay attention to this for, like, 3 minutes, and it's just...
It's awkward and it's great and it's poignant and everything. And then he then informs her that one of the big things about ghost orchids, you can get very high off them, apparently.
It kind of puts into context, like, earlier on in the movie, there's the Native American who kind of, like, comes up to Meryl Streep and is, like, touching her face and being like, your eyes are full of so much sadness.
Yeah, and it's like the whole, like, beautiful, mystical native man, and it's like, no, he's just fucking high, dude.
He's just really fucking high because they stole this flower that... Is it the pollen, or is it just...
I don't know, but he posts her some of it, and she's in a hotel room, and she's just listening to dial tones, and then calls him up and makes him do a dial tone with her. And of fucking course, Meryl Streep is really good at acting high, along with everything else she can do. It's when she like tells him no, and then like puts her face in the bed and is like kicking her feet, and it's like, how are you this good at everything? Fuck you.
She's just so effortlessly charming.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
And I think this is at the period of time where people are like, Meryl Streep can't do comedy. And it's like, but she's so fucking funny in this.
Yeah. And she makes everything work. She makes Mamma Mia work. She's Meryl Streep.
In the background of all of this is that John LaRoche is like, he's given up on orchids because he's been arrested, and he's kind of doing everything that he's doing with Susan as like a favour to her for this article. But in the background he's set up like a porn site.
Yeah, a weird beat here, because this is where our narratives kind of cross over, because Charlie has chickened out on meeting her, and he's gone to the screenwriting thing, and then he calls Donny, and he invites him to New York to like help him with the book, with the script. And then Donny's like, you should go meet her. He's like, well, I can't meet her. He's like, well, I'll go meet her then. And he goes and he grills her, and he asks these terrible questions that are like Donny's not smooth. It's great. And then they end up spying on her and following her down to Florida. And like, you know, Susan clearly thinks that Donny's an idiot in this conversation, and Donny like bursts into song while talking to Charlie, and it's something that like earlier on when he was talking about his terrible movie, he said he wanted to do a musical number, and like they were talking about how that's a really bad idea, and then like they literally do one here.
I want to close with like this happy song, like Happy Together, like the ironic song in the background.
Exactly, yeah. And then they do it again at the end, and then they do it again at the end. But yeah, the way they discover that their suspicions about Susan
there's
John,
like multiple stages to it, which is like Donny's question is like, if you could have a meal with anyone alive or dead, who would you choose?
Just like Einstein and Jesus, and he's like, she's fucking lying. It's like, okay.
it's such a pre-packaged answer, and it's like, what?
Well, he's not wrong.
And then they like watch her make a phone call and tell her husband that she can't go anywhere, and then they're just like, I'm going to see whether or not she still knows John LaRoche. Let's go to his porn site.
And there she is. I assume that's not Meryl Streep.
But no, that is definitely Meryl Streep.
Wonderful. Commitment to the role.
I mean, Meryl Streep's done that in the past.
I know, but it's like, it's such a nothing, tiny bit. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's why it's like...
Also, what a weird aside that John LaRoche went from orchid stealing, farming, whatever, to like, he runs a porn site. And a bad-looking one as well.
Yeah, no, it's 1999, Matt.
I'm sorry.
Porn sites didn't look good in 1999.
Oh, like, you know, you were like...
Seven.
Oh, gross. So yeah, they follow her down to Florida, which is creepy, but they are immediately proved right, because LaRoche like meets her at the airport, and they're like arm in arm, and you know, they follow him, and Charlie is caught, and Susan, while very high and terrified about the implications that like this affair could get out and everything, she attempts to kill him, and he and Donny flee into the swamp. So Charlie Kaufman being caught watching them fuck, and then Chris Cooper running outside naked to catch him and bring him in, and playing this little scene of like, oh hey, nice to meet you, man. He's just naked the whole time. It's like, great. Wonderful. And then, you know, the two brothers having their little heart-to-heart in the swamp, and Donny talking about this, or they talk about this girl, Sarah Marshall, and I was like, hang on. Probably a coincidence, but John ends up shooting Donny in the arm, and then while they're, like, fleeing in a car, Charlie crashes, and Donny flies through the windscreen in this surprisingly brutal little scene. Moments after John gets fucking killed by an alligator. What the shit is happening? And, like, I don't like this portion of the film. I get it. I understand. It's all very meta, and, like, he went and did the Hollywood-ass weird ending and, like, gave it an artificially dramatic ending by making it so over the top and everything. I understand it artistically, but as a viewer, I was really enjoying everything up until they went down to Florida, essentially.
I think it's just because it gets so heightened. It just kind of, like, it gets funny, and, like, none of this resolution happened elsewhere. It's because, like, I doubt Susan Orlean and John LaRoche are still in contact. Like, John LaRoche is still alive. Donny Kaufman didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And you get, like, basically everything from the moment where they start, like, stalking Susan Orlean.
Yeah, where it gets strange.
It's not even strange, it just kind of gets, like, well, now we're, like, a heist movie mixed with this other thing, and
it just becomes a different thing altogether.
Yeah, and I can understand why you'd be like, well, I was enjoying the kind of like meditation on the artistic process and stuff like this.
And I really enjoyed the idea that Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep would never get like a real scene together. Like, you know, he has the masturbatory fantasy about her earlier, and they have the quick moment in the lift where she doesn't even know who he is and they don't even speak. And I was like, God, if they make it to the end of this movie with them never actually, you know, they've got their two big stars and they're never gonna have a fucking scene. And I was like, oh, okay.
But the thing I really like is when they get to the scene in the house in Florida, because like he hasn't really had a scene with her. Like, yes, there's the interview scene, but it's so very fleeting, and it's with Donny. Yeah. But in the house in Florida, where they're just like, oh, this is the person that's writing the screenplay about him. And then within 3 seconds, just like, we have to murder him. And she plays it so well. Yeah. It's that kind of thing where, like, she's the one who's just like, no, we have to murder this person. Yeah. This writer of the New Yorker. I'm perfectly...
No, you, toothless porn site man, you must murder him for me.
No, she's the one that sits in the car pointing a gun at him the entire way when they take him to the swamp. Yeah. And I can understand, it does get heightened, and it is very different to the rest of the movie.
It's but just it also such tonal whiplash, you know.
But it feels, I do think it feels earned. I do think this feels like...
Again, I get it, and it all fits with everything. And, like, Charlie, like, trying to sing to Donny to, like, make him not die, and then Donny dying with a smile on his face. Like, he's seemingly gone, and then he opens his eyes again, and then his last memory on this earth will be that, and he dies with a smile on his face. It's like, that's hauntingly beautiful. And then, like, him having to call their mother and stuff. It's like, oh, shit, it's still, like, a really good, well-acted movie, like, and everything. It's just, what have we been doing for the last 10 minutes? I
do wonder if, like, if it had the budget to kind of, like, shift into this a bit more noticeably.
Like, change the, like, aspect ratio and, like...
Yeah, I mean, I think that would make it too obvious what they're trying to do. I think, like, it works with it being the same, but I do think, like, I do wonder whether or not, like, if something more noticeable happened other than just... It gets noticeably more heightened. Like, if it got visually more heightened, it would feel more earned to you.
Maybe. It's just, if their aim was to make me laugh and say, what the fuck, for 10 minutes, mission accomplished. And
I think that genuinely is what the aim of this last bit is to go, like, what the fuck? Like, what I really love is the idea of someone seeing, or just reading The Orchid Thief, and they're going, oh, they've adapted it into a movie.
Yeah. No, they didn't. Yeah.
I think like someone who would read the book would probably go like, no, they do adapt a lot of the book in here. There's a lot of Meryl Streep voiceover reading just straight up passages from the book and the article. Mm-hmm. It's just
but where is the scene?
But 2/3 of the movie is not the book.
This is true. And then he obviously is devastated by this for a long time, and several months, I think, pass, and he basically writes all of this into the film, right down to the ending. You know, he even says, like, end on driving away, and it's like he's thinking that while driving, and, like, you know, before that he finally kisses Amelia, who, you know, she confesses she loves him too, but then...
So do you think that's... I think it also plays into, like, the kind of heightened moment of the last act, which is like...
Yeah. It's just this is not kind of weird Hollywoodism. It's a more, like, I don't want to say innocent one, but, you know, it's one where you're just like, oh, okay. But, like, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, and then they kiss, and of course she loves him too, but they cannot be together. And
yeah, so I've got my other take for this, which I've just come up with just now.
Still wanking.
The first 2 acts of this movie are Charlie Kaufman's screenplay.
Right.
The last act of this movie
is Donny.
Which is why it feels
well, I
so
mean, he invites
and so...
him down to help him, and, like, he...
Well, so yeah, like, there's literally a point in the movie where he goes, Donald, come over and help me finish the screenplay.
Yeah,
and he does, and the movie has...
Changes, yeah. Is he just saying that, like, Donny is the part of his brain that, like, can write what Hollywood wants, and Charlie is, like, the neurotic part of him that just has existential dread about the very industry that is his lifeblood? Like,
I think that's exactly what this movie's trying to say.
Yeah, I get
that, like he's trying to say, like, I could do this movie if I wanted to. I could do the movie that you're all expecting, which is like these two people being in love and high and murdering someone who stumbles upon their drug den and stuff like that.
Doing dial tones.
But that's not what I'm interested in, and it's why, I mean, he's got Confessions of a Dangerous Mind that comes out after this, but then he's got Eternal Sunshine, like 2 years later, which shows that he's definitely not interested in what Hollywood
conventional. Yeah. And yeah, Happy Together plays as he's driving away. The song that they've been singing to each other, and Weezer actually recorded an acoustic version for the movie, but then Spike Jonze was like, nah, I'm good. I think we'll have the original. I think we'll have the Turtles, thank you. And, you know, credits play, and then we get a fucking fictional quote from the three. You read it, and it's like, this hurts to read, it's so bad. And then dedicated in memory of Donny, which is just, thank you. Thank you for this ongoing beat right up to the end.
I really want to know how they went to the WGA and said, like, can we credit this to someone who doesn't exist? Because I'm pretty sure the rules for, like, crediting on movies are pretty strict. You can have your name removed and replaced with Alan Smithy, but what is the process of going to them and saying, I want to credit someone who literally does not exist?
Yep, a person that you could never meet.
In addition to me.
I want my imaginary friend to be co-credited on my screenplay about how I can't write movies. And then I want an Oscar, please.
And then they give him the Oscar.
Yeah, it's wonderful. What a great
how is
fucking
this movie
stupid movie that should never have gotten made, but I fucking love that it did.
How is this movie adapted? Like, this is more annoying to me that this is adapted. I understand that the whole sways of this movie are adapted from The Orchid Thief.
Yeah, like the based on The Orchid Thief feels like such a like courtesy to Susan Orlean for like borrowing her book to use within his larger, completely made up story. This is an original fucking screenplay.
Yeah.
But the end result was magnificent. And,
It didn't win adapted screenplay.
Brilliant.
I looked at the BAFTAs earlier. It didn't win adapted screenplay.
Oh yeah, Meryl Streep accepted on his behalf and like misread his message and said he wanted to spank Spike Jonze or something. Yeah, it was a whole fucking thing. Yeah, great. Even if I find the end pretty jarring, it is overall a work of genius, and Charlie Kaufman, while he may have obliterated his like dating chances, if it's even remotely autobiographical, he made a fucking great movie.
Yeah.
And Spike Jonze directed the hell out of it, and Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper acted the fuck out of it.
And I'm genuinely sad that The Pianist won adapted screenplay.
We should be sad about many aspects of The Pianist, and this is just one of them. Do you have any closing thoughts on this film?
No, this is just like, I mean, it's not Charlie Kaufman's best screenplay from this decade. But the thing is, it's one of those things where, like, I think he is one of the most interesting working writers in Hollywood. And it's such a shame that we get, like, a new movie from him every, like, 5 years or so.
Well...
But
Genius takes time.
I know, but it's like when they come out, you're just like, what is this? No,
As does Madness. If you have not seen Syndercock New York, please see it, and just see it as late at night as possible. See it while you are tired as fuck and just cranky for no reason, and it will piss you off. It's so weird.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
it's great.
see Mona Lisa as well, which is beautifully animated and also only features 3 actors.
Wonderful. Are they the same person in the end?
Tom Noonan is so there's 3 credits. It's David Thewlis as Michael Stone, Jennifer Jason Leigh as Lisa Hesselman, and Tom Noonan as everyone else. So imagine you're watching Being John Malkovich, where everyone's John Malkovich, except it's the entire movie.
I will imagine that. And I will imagine that until next week when Spike Jonze's ex-wife and Nicolas Cage's cousin steps into the director chair, Sofia Coppola, because we are covering Lost in Translation. What a wonderful segue, like a bridge between these movies. Isn't that great? The nepotism of Nicolas Cage, not trading off his family name, and yet here he is, brothers in the fucking movie somehow, and his cousin's directing the next one. And yeah, there you go. Next time, we will do Lost in Translation. Go to entertherealworld.com. Check out everything that is going on there. We're recording months in advance, so I don't know what the fuck to plug. But yeah, do that, and go to Mike and Matt on SoundCloud.
I mean, I'll assume Superhero Pantheon will be running.
Yes, Superhero Pantheon will run forever until they run out of superhero movies. But, I mean, that is a genuine fear. Like, there will one day not be movies. Ben, can you confirm for me if there will be movies next week? At least next week.
Next week there will be movies,
Okay.
But I can't confirm whether or not there will still be superhero movies. In fact, I think we've had our last superhero movie until 2020 released now.
Well, that's sad. What a great
I know.
note to end on. Bye, everybody.